Experienced riders are going to tell you that it's not if, but when you drop your bike. And I don't know anyone who wants their bike to get damaged when that time inevitably comes around. That's why frame sliders and crash bobbins exist. And that's why many of us fit them to our bikes. But how do they actually work? Are they worth the money? Or will they actually cause more damage than they'll prevent? Let's find out in today's video. So let's talk crash protection. So these here are called frame sliders, or crash protection, or crash bungs, or fairing protectors. They've got a whole multitude of names, and they exist to save your wallet in the event that you drop the bike. Frame sliders are designed to protect your bike's fairings and frame. They protect the engine casings, or your plastics and your 1,000-pound carbon fibre exhaust in the event that you do drop it, especially in situations like a low speed drop or low side. The idea is really simple. Instead of your tank and engine and all your plastics scraping down the road and causing thousands of pounds worth of damage, these sacrificial pucks take all that impact and take the load, and then all you have to do is replace an 80, 90-pound piece of plastic rather than paying for expensive paint jobs on fairings. There's a few different types. So you've got most common being things like frame sliders. These usually mount to engine mounts or the frame. Some require cutting into the fairings. You'll find that most sports bikes or track riders and stuff go down this route, while others are non-cut and fit around or over the bodywork with special brackets, such as these Evotech ones here that just bolt straight on with this bracket. Then you've got things like fork sliders or swing arm bobbins. Again, these are designed to take the brunt of the impact. They stick out slightly wider than the swing arm and the fork, and they protect things like your brake calipers, your forks, your suspension, and your swing arms, and make sure that the bike's geometry in the event of a low speed drop doesn't get knocked out of shape. Then you can also get things like engine case covers from companies like what they're called, BG Racing, I think the company's called. So they do engine covers, clutch covers, water pump covers, that sort of stuff. So if you've got a casing that sticks out slightly wider, say you've got a four-cylinder sports bike, the engines tend to be slightly wider than these low angle, well, not low angle, but you know what I mean, these narrower V-twins that I've got here. So the engine case might stick out slightly wider. So they provide you with covers made of the same material that sit over those, protect those in the event of a low side as well. So you've got all sorts of different crash protection out there. And if you've got like an adventure bike, you can get these huge engine bike frame cages that bolt on and stick out. So you get those for like sports touring bikes and adventure bikes. So like I say, there's an absolute plethora of different crash protection out there depending on your bike. The most common though are these sticky out pucks that stick on the side of the bike for the likes of Evotech, R&G, Power Bronze, because they're all the most affordable and they offer the best protection for riders that ride on the street, like myself, for example, because they offer the best kind of protection for the kind of crashes that we're going to see most commonly whilst out on the road. And also, these brands tend to look quite smart as well. They make the bike look a little bit more, I don't know, a bit more personal to the individual. Here's the thing though, not all sliders are created equal. It might be tempted to go out and get the cheapest sliders you can find on eBay and on Timo and so forth because, well, it seems a bit daft, doesn't it, spending £250 plus on polyurethane plasticky bits that you know in the event of a crash you're going to have to replace later on down the line. So it might seem like a sensible option to go for the cheapest brand possible for a sacrificial part. But let's be fair here. In the event that you drop the bike, these have been tested and designed to take the impact. They come highly recommended, not just because they cost a lot of money, because riders have tested them out. People have been unfortunate enough to drop their bikes, and they've been through a lot of R&D and research and development where we know that these brands like R&G, Evotech, Power Bronze, we know their stuff's going to last and actually do its job. Whereas that cheaper stuff, well, they tend to snap. They're not mounted in the most optimal points either. So it might be mounted just on one visible lug nut hole where it's not in the correct position. Your tank's still going to hit the ground. It's not going to save your fairings. The cheap Chinesium metal it's made of is going to snap and shear off. It's going to do absolutely nothing. So, and also I've seen them in the past where the cheap ones have bent and cracked and actually bent into fairings and caused more damage than they've actually meant to have saved. And there's also rumours of people talking about it. When they snap off, they leave the bolt sticking out, and that can sometimes dig into certain surfaces, which means instead of the bike just sliding along the road on a surface like that on these polyurethane pucks, it digs in, and instead of the bike just sliding, it then sends it into a full send, and the bike starts cartwheeling down the road, and it completely writes the bike off. It causes thousands of pounds worth of damage rather than just a few £100s worth of damage to these sacrificial parts. So before you rush out and get the cheapest ones you can find on Amazon and eBay and the likes, make sure you do some research into how good they are and read some reviews. You don't have to go for the expensive brands, but I definitely recommend going for ones that people trust and ones that come up highly recommended. You want your sliders to be made from things like high tensile polyurethane, so something that's going to absorb that energy, not transfer it. You want to avoid materials like aluminium or carbon fibre, because whilst they might look cool, they don't actually slide all that well and they can smash and shatter on impact. Brands like I've mentioned, Evotech, R&G, GB Racing, Power Bronze, they're all tested, they all come highly recommended, so they're the ones that I recommend you go out and have a look for your bike. So then, the question is, do you need them? Well, what I'd say is if you're a new rider, or you're a commuter, or let's say you even do a few little track days, then sliders can act as cheap insurance. They're definitely not going to save everything, and there's no guarantee your bike's going to survive the slide without a single scratch coming into it. But what they can do is prevent the bike from being a complete and utter write-off, and just mean it ends up becoming a weekend project to get straight again. Their job is to protect things that are the hardest and most expensive to replace. They may even leave your bike in a rideable condition after a slow speed, low slide, meaning you can get yourself home and then assess the damage when you're back home rather than being stranded waiting hours for recovery. So yeah, frame sliders. They're not just cosmetic and they're not just for racers. If you ride, especially here in the UK where, you know, a driveway drop is just one wet, slippery boot away from happening, then they're worth fitting. If you've got any questions at all or want to know more about crash protection, what I recommend, why I chose Evotech, drop a comment below and I'll get back to you. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because I'm going to try and do a whole new series of videos very soon that explain things like motorbike tech in the plainest of English that I possibly can. So yeah, please like, subscribe, do all that good social media stuff, and hopefully I get to see you in the next one. See ya. That's the take.